afternoon, everybody, and welcome to DIY Crafts. So if you were with us last week, we made some really cool paper mache and paper clay pumpkins. You did not get to see the painted product, so this is the finished product. This creepy, slightly fallen pumpkin. I have yet to paint the inside, but the outside is pretty much done. I just maybe need a coat or two of paint left, and then this guy is done. So if you missed last week's, tune in, rewatch it. This was paper mache and paper clay pumpkin, and it's pretty hard. So that's that guy. This week we are still focusing on pumpkins, and I'm sorry, you're gonna have to deal with my pumpkin craziness. We are going to be doing as many pumpkin crafts as we can possibly conceive to decorate the house without actually going to the store. So this week we are taking deaccession books, or books that are no longer hold any value, have wrong information, are falling apart. Basically they are no longer fit for public consumption. So I have here an old paperback book that is actually starting to mold a little bit. So I'm gonna cut off the mold and transform it into this beautiful book page pumpkin with a cute little green stem, and that's pretty much what we're gonna end up doing. This was an old poetry book that was actually starting to mold as well. So I cut out the mold and created this gorgeous pumpkin, and I'm going to show you guys how to do that today. So without further ado, I'll put this off to the side and let's begin. So I have here a really old book. It's from the library. It's starting to mold at the top and the sides, and it has a little bit of water damage. So it's no longer fit for people to hold and read. We are going to order another copy. What you're going to want to do first is grab a book of your choice. Preferably a book that is deaccessioned or that is in your home and no longer holds any value to you because it's starting to fall apart, it's looking kind of crummy, it's water damaged, whatever, what have you. And then what you're going to do is you're going to tear off the front cover and you're going to tear off the back cover. And I know that just seems really cruel. As a librarian, this kind of hurts a little bit, but I feel valued because we're going to reuse it in another way, and it's not going to just go in the trash or be burned or something. So the next thing you're going to want to do is you can take a pencil, or you can just take a very sharp blade. For me, I'm using a box cutter, and you're going to cut out the shape of your pumpkin. So for me, I've already kind of gone ahead and cut out a couple of pages just so you guys can see it. I've gone and done a mark here for my stem, and then I've gone all the way around for my pumpkin, and when I open it a little bit you can see the shape that it's gonna make. So if the shape doesn't work for you and you're not a big fan of the shape, just tear this part off and start again. Super helpful if you're using a book that's really big. And then from there you're just gonna go a couple pages at a time, and you're gonna cut the stem, and you're just going to go around and keep cutting all of your pages until you have the pumpkin in every single one of these pages. If this is your first time doing it, I don't suggest that you do the biggest book because it is kind of time consuming, but once you cut it, you're just going to take these pages out, and then you're going to just keep pulling out those pages until you reach the back of the page. So as you go along, you'll get some pages that are half cut. Just keep going around and cutting to the best of your ability, nice and slowly. The more pressure you apply, the further down you're going to get. I will tell you that if you're doing this for the first time, I don't suggest a paperback book or a mass market paperback. The pages are just super thin and they make it really difficult to cut in an easy fashion without just tearing it. This one was a hardcover book that I took the hardcover off. And if you're doing a paperback, you can kind of see the paperback is actually actually shredding. The edges are shredding a little bit, and that's not really as neat as I would like it, but it's okay because that's why I have a pair of scissors. What I can do when I am done cutting is I can go back and take those shredded pieces and just kind of trim off that shredded part. It's not super ideal, but it works. And you're just going to trim off the parts that look kind of gross. And then you'll just keep on keeping on. So if you want, as you go, you can fold these pages back. What this is going to help you do is it's going to help give you that shape of your pumpkin, because eventually what you're going to end up doing is you're going to glue the seams together to get your round shape. Alright, so you can already start to see starting to get pretty round, pretty awesome. So bear with me, we're going to kind of go through this and cut as much as I can without boring you guys to tears over here. In the meantime, I can enlighten you guys that if you are tuning in next week, or you plan on tuning in next week, some of the things that you're going to need if you want to follow along at home is a few rolls of toilet paper and a pair of scissors, some ribbon of your choice, and whatever color paint you would like your pumpkin to end up being. So again, you can see that the paperback pages don't cut as well with the knife. So what I can do is I can go back and just kind of trim those with the scissors and just make that edge a lot better. And you're just going to keep going until you get to the very end. So here I am. You'll also notice that I am cutting it on a pizza box, and that's so I don't ruin the surface of my table. Highly recommended. Unless you have a cutting board at home that you want to use, that works actually really well. That's how I did my first one. But since I wanted to enjoy the great outdoors, and I didn't feel like bringing a cutting board with me, pizza box works. There we go. And again, I'm already starting to get stuck, so I'm going to take my scissors. I'm going to go in here. And just fix this. If you are just tuning in, I highly suggest that if you're doing this for the first time, you do not do it with a paperback book. If you're going to cut it with scissors, works great. Paperbacks are awesome. But if you're cutting it with a knife, it's not really the greatest thing to do. This book was a hardcover book, so the pages are a little bit sturdier. And again, just gonna go in here and cut this. And you'll notice that as I go through and cut this, I am using the pages I already cut to keep the outline I have going. So, apply some pressure. And there we go. Peel off the pages. Put them down so they don't fly away. And you're just going to keep on going the entire way. So when you get to the end of this, you have options. You can leave it just the way it is. And then if you want, your pumpkin actually almost looks like an apple too. So you can leave it out all year round. Or what you can do is you can paint the edges with a dry paintbrush. Whatever color you want your pumpkin to be, whether it be purple or orange or brown or white. Pumpkins come in very different colors. So all you're going to do is you're going to put all the edges together, and then you're going to brush a dry paintbrush that you have not put in water with acrylic paint. And what happens is when you use a dry paintbrush, that helps prevent the paint from seeping too deeply, and that's going to help you be able to separate the pages a little bit easier than if you were using a wet paintbrush. I will tell you that the hardest part of this is having the patience. So it's good practice if you don't have a lot of patience. to cut through only a few pages at a time. And then the second hardest part is after, when you're ready to paint, you have to unstick each of the individual pages. I kind of lucked out because I have a really cool sword letter opener, and that helps me rip apart each of the individual pages. But if you don't let it dry for too long, it's not hard at all. Just requires a little bit of patience. So you're gonna keep on going. You know, bear with me. Pressure. I did do a couple of pages before I started recording this, so it won't be too bad for you guys to sit with me until I finish this. If not, as always, each live recording is recorded, so you can always come back to it and fast forward through my talking and take a look at the finished product. Or you can skip to the very beginning and already look at the finished product right here. Alright, so it's coming along pretty nicely. It's already starting to look very much like a pumpkin. I could totally leave it like that if I wanted to. A lot of people too, what they'll do is instead of ripping the whole book apart, they will leave it so the pumpkin actually comes out into the center of the book like this, and then it looks like there's a pumpkin popping out of your book, just like oh god, someone help me with the movie where he jumps into the book, The Never-Ending Story. So your book is actually coming alive. But either way, pretty awesome. So for the month of October, we are going to be doing as many fall crafts as we can possibly think of. In all honesty, they are very much pumpkin related. So if you have a pumpkin craft that you've done at home or that you want to share with us, please feel free to do so in the comments. See, I'm so glad that we deleted this book from the library because it's got a really big coffee stain right there. I hope it's coffee. And we're just going to cut that right out so you won't even be able to see it anymore. This book is the book from the Narrowscope by Brian Lumley series. And this paperback has certainly got its use. It's searched so many times that it looks absolutely disgusting. Although paperbacks don't take long to do that either, so that's a kind of a moot point. I will tell you, I had a lot easier of a time doing this with that book. The pages themselves are a lot thicker. Paperback pages are just so thin that it makes it really difficult to cut them adequately. But I kind of like it because it's giving me a jagged look. So it's pretty cool. And then what I can do is do that little hang there. And just go back, take my scissors, and just cut those off. So what's going to happen is you're not going to see them when it pulls out. Alright, pumpkin's getting there, we're getting there. Alrighty. So when you do come to paint this, you're only going to paint the very outer edge. Because if you are a book nerd like myself, you want to see the words. Alrighty. Take that off. Take that off. We're getting there. We are getting there. Alright, let me... The pages are just not cooperating right now. There we go. Okay. So if any of you have gone to my class when it did exist, in real life, in real person, not this digital age stuff, we did do book folding, This is very similar to book folding, but you're not folding, you're cutting. Totally your preference. I will tell you from having the book folding class that this is much faster. Book folding requires its own type of patience and focus for that matter. It is not something that you can do in 10 minutes. And nope, definitely not something you can do in 10 minutes. It takes quite a while to do even the simplest of book folds, as any of the people that attended that class can attest to. But the final product looks really awesome, just like this looks really awesome. But this takes approximately, if you're using paper that's a little bit thicker than what I'm using, it usually takes approximately 10 to 20 minutes, depending on how many pages you have to cut through. This book, I'm on 179, so I'm getting there, slowly, but I'm getting there. That's the good part. Alright, let's see here. You can also play around with this too, and try and do a couple of pages that are a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, so you get kind of like the differences, the different dimensions of a pumpkin. Make it look a little bit more authentic. Alright. So I'm going to stop here just so I don't completely bore you guys. But basically what's going to happen is once you get to the very end of the book, it's going to look like this. And all you're going to do is you're going to put a hot glue bead right here, and you're going to squish this together. And what happens when you squish the hot glue gun together, hold on, this is my seam right here, and that's the hot glue gun. Once you squish it together, it's gonna keep that round shape. And if it doesn't get round right off the bat, that's okay, because all you have to do is go through and kind of fold it back in different directions, fan it out a little, and then it'll give you that nice round shape. If you do want to add color to this, orange, red, purple, whatever color you want to add, you do want to make sure that you do it before you glue it together. So you're going to want to put all your pages together like this, and you're going to want to just dry paint this right here. And then what you'll end up doing is you'll just have to end up separating the pages individually, or you can do 2 or 3 pages that are stuck together depending on the thickness of your paper. And then when you separate it, then you'll glue the spine together and squish it together. You can even glue the front page to the back page, and that'll keep it together. I didn't have to do that with this one, but it depends on the book that you're using. The spine might be a little bit more flexible, or it might not be. So depending on the book that you're using will depend on whether or not you have to actually take this and glue the first page and the last page together, or just the spine. Any questions, please put them in the comments. If you are going to tune in next week, things you'll need. You will need a toilet paper roll or a paper towel roll. More than one, the better. You will need orange acrylic paint, and you will need green acrylic paint and maybe a little brown. Or if you are not into painting individual pieces of a toilet paper roll, you can use spray paint. Either or works great. I'll show you how to do all this fun stuff next week. And you'll need some string and a pair of scissors. So tune in next week for our more pumpkin extravaganza. This is week 2 of pumpkin extravaganza, book pumpkins. Last week we made this really creepy paper mache, paper clay pumpkin. And if you missed it, tune in. It is on our Facebook page. So without further ado, I will see you guys all next week. And I hope you tune in and do it live with me. Okay? See you then.